What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Scythe, and we have bad games more Trove. And today we're going to be taking a look at the, what is this called? Mount Parade 2019.
And so for my birthday, an event is happening for the April event called Mount Parade.
Yes, this is actually that. You remember that reference? The dev stream video? That's pretty much what this event actually is. So this is going to be going on from April 9th to the 22nd. So it's going to end just before Avengers ends up coming out, which obviously everyone's super duper hyped for. But the event itself is going to end up giving you this mount and not really that much else. You are going to end up getting some decent items out of it. However, it's not like it's a bad event by any means. But it's definitely been a while since I've heard this many complaints about how an event is delivered. Because it's been a long time since we've had kind of these copy and paste, like, do this, okay, now do this, okay, now go back to doing the same thing of the other event part. And it's just, it's all over the place. It's a mess. Hopefully we'll see better events in the future, because it's very disorganized. But we're going to also talk about the benefits of what's going on with this event, as well as just how you end up completing the quest line, because there's quite a few cool things that are going on right now behind the scenes that I can speak for myself is actually working fairly well. But we'll talk about that in a minute, because that's in our crafting inventory. So before we get started, there's a couple things I'd like to mention. If you're a new Trove player coming to, well, whether you're on PC or console, you can actually use the sign up link down below to sign up for the game. And then if you decide at any time in the future to end up buying anything for Trove, I will end up making a percentage of that. It's a very beautiful, seamless way that you can end up just playing the game normally and supporting me at the same time, which is absolutely awesome. Now, that said, I would also appreciate if you aren't a new player to smash that like button. It helps me out greatly. And let's get to it. So defeat 3-star dungeons. You gotta defeat 25. What? 25 3-star dungeons? Yes, indeed. It's going to take you quite a while to do this if you don't know all the tricks. Yes, that's right. So what most people will end up doing is just going to the normal Uber worlds and stuff like that, which obviously is going to end up being very tedious. But did you know that Shadow Towers, when you end up completing them, those will actually count as a 3-star dungeon? So you can just go through those over and over and over again. You want to go through Weeping Prophet. The first 2 are going to be arenas, and then you just warp out and just keep opening the gate over and over and over again. And out of it, you're going to end up getting a super mount stash, which is not very useful for somebody like myself who's at the end game, but for most of you guys playing at home, it's going to end up being very good for you. Most of you guys and gals, I should say. Because that is going to end up giving you an adventure mount that you don't already have. Think of it as a style unlocker for your weapons and armor and stuff like that, but it's actually related to mounts. So then the next part is very, very easy. You have to check out the mount taming bench. So I don't know why they're trying to push this. Like, that's just a little bit weird and out of nowhere for me. Thank you for the pinatas, whoever's throwing them. But quite literally, it's going to be this bench right here is the mount taming bench. If I'm not mistaken, I think we need the builder's bench in order to get it. Yeah, so you go to the builder's crafting bench, and then it's right here. So if you're a new player, you know, it's going to be a little bit tedious to get this. And I mean a new player, because Steed Feed is going to be kind of what's blocking you from crafting this. But it's not that big of a deal. So either way, out of that, you're going to end up getting 10 chaos chests, which easy peasy, no problem. Then you have to collect 100 sunlight bulb. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can just end up buying it from the market. And sunlight bulbs are not, you know, they're not super expensive or something. Hey, it's Inushiba. I haven't seen him in a while. You can get quite a bit, but the problem is trying to get just 100 and not get a full stack. Honestly, I'd recommend, like, if you're a very starting player, just go get it. You know, you can't get it in the novice world, which is the medieval highlands, so you kind of gotta go to higher tiered worlds. But let's just go to the Cursed Vale so I can kind of show you guys this, just because I want an excuse to show off. There's a new dungeon that they have for sunlight bulbs that was added a couple patches back, and well, I never ended up checking it out until this ended up happening, until this event, because I completely forgot about it. So you see that dark green biome in the top left of us with the sunflowers? Yeah, that's the biome that you're going to be looking for. because it's going to be able to spawn giant sunflower dungeons as well as a windmill dungeon. And those dungeons, if you can even call them dungeons, they're just under the same code. But those, you can see one right over there. These will end up spawning with sunlight bulbs on them, and almost all of them, like it's gonna be very, very easy to get 100 sunlight bulbs. Like, it seriously is no problem. You can usually just go through one of these. It's gonna be a bit more tedious the less jump you have, for sure, but for most people it's not going to end up being a problem. And then out of that, you will get a builder's superior focus. So at least that's, you know, considering what you do in order to get that, that's a pretty good reward, honestly speaking. They should honestly give us a lot more of the focus items, though. I think they should give us like 5 of, I don't know, certain, like maybe a silver one or something like that, just because they always give us like 1 gold focus and think that that's like worthwhile when there's like literally so many gems that you have to end up augmenting up. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. So then this is where it starts getting annoying. I don't care, it doesn't bother me, but most players I see on average complaining about this, where now you have to defeat more 3-star dungeons. Super lazy, like, oh my goodness gracious. So you gotta defeat 25 more 3-star dungeons. Ridiculous that you in total for this event have to complete 50 3-star dungeons. So anyways, you'll just be going through your shadow towers again. Again, for this week, it's going to be Weeping Prophet, but I don't know, that might be different by the time you end up watching this video, who knows. But either way, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just go through it over and over like a freak, and then you're going to end up getting yourselves 25 crystalline cores. So at least that's a pretty considerable reward, honestly speaking, because crystalline cores are normally time gated. You can only get them from 5-star dungeons, and you can only get a bigger quantity of them, I should say, from 5-star dungeons for a limited time per day, and then you're basically going to get 1 for every 5-star dungeon, which is quite ridiculous. Then this is the part that gives most people the biggest problem. This is where everybody's saying how bad it is, because you have to find 5 chaos chests. Your tomes aren't going to work. I don't think buying them out of the store would work. Not that I've ever bought chaos chests out of the store. It's a beginner's trap. Don't do it. But getting 5 of them to drop is it's hit or miss. Like, it's completely RNG. So you could get this done right away, or it could end up taking you days. It honestly depends on how consistently you're grinding, how fast you're grinding dungeons, because you have a chance of getting a chaos chest from elite mobs, but more so from dungeon chests. And like I said, like with that, keeping that in mind, it's about getting through the dungeons as fast as possible and as efficiently as possible and as consistently as possible, so that you can end up increasing your odds of actually getting those chaos chests. Now, I'm kind of convinced, not 100% mind you, I'm kind of convinced that there's an internal cooldown to how often you can end up getting chaos chests, because when I was testing it out during this event, like, you know, I've never actually kept track of when I would get a chaos chest, because you just kind of get them at random, right? But I noticed with this event, it seemed like there was maybe a 15 to 25 minute cooldown before you could get the next chaos chest. You know, don't quote me on that 100%. It could have just been my average in terms of the drop rates, but it seemed like after you ended up getting a chaos chest, you had to wait a designated amount of time before you could end up getting another one. I don't know if that's the case, because, you know, the devs are very unclear about things like that, but either way, you just keep grinding dungeons. If you want to be the most efficient, although it's boring, you would continuously do the Weeping Prophet over and over, just because it's consistently fast, unless you can end up handling the U8, U9, or U10 at the geode surface, because these are going to end up being the fastest farming place in the entire game, just because the dungeons are in such abundancy. And if you ever run into a 5-star dungeon, that quite literally counts as 5 1-star dungeons. So that's 5 different chests for you to end up getting a chaos chest. That's pretty much what I did. And then you're gonna get forge fragments, 30 forge fragments out of it, which that's not really that great. Let me actually take a little peek here and see. I know I ended up loot collecting some crystal today. because crystal gear in itself, like this is what's so sad about it, is by finding 5 chaos chests you gain 30 forge fragments. I don't think that that's worth it, because if you're in the geode topside anyways, you're probably going to end up getting more than 3 pieces of crystal gear within the time frame of actually getting these chaos chests, and then you just loot collect those and you'll be able to end up getting another 30 forge fragments. Like, that's not a very good resource for them to give us such a small amount for the chaos chests. It's not necessarily difficult to get the chaos chests, it's just time consuming and it's RNG. So I don't like that, because I don't think that any of the event things should be based on RNG. It reminds me of the other recent event that we ended up having, where we had to go into the geode caves and randomly have a promising geode egg show up, right? And it's like, what? Are you kidding me? So this just seems to be a new theme that they keep doing. And then finally, last but not least, you're going to have to complete 10, that's right, 10 5-star dungeons. And this is completing the dungeon. It doesn't count for, like, you know, if you go to a 5-star dungeon and you complete all the little objectives, that's not going to end up slowly counting towards it. It's just when the entire 5-star dungeon is defeated, then you're going to end up getting the 1 point. So you got to defeat 10 of them, which again, you know, I've seen more people again complaining in chat saying, like, that's not everybody can do that, because you have to be able to go to U8 geo topside at the least, let alone have enough light that you can end up completing the dungeons at an efficient enough time. So it's like, it's not a very approachable event by any means, you know, but at the same time, it's like, who can't go to U8? Like, obviously new players aren't going to be able to, and I know that it's difficult for a lot of players to get to U8, most of all because the only difficulty that comes into play with getting to U8 is pretty much leveling up your character fast and effectively enough that you can end up equipping your gems, and then you just force level up some of those gems till you end up getting that 5k PR requirement, which is super duper easy, but not if you're not playing Trove consistently and grinding your characters up, because you gotta be like somewhere around like level, well, I guess level 27 to 28 in order to probably even enter this area and fight it efficiently. I mean, generally, depending on the class, you could probably do this at level 25 or under, but either way, at that point, you're going to end up getting the Roly Corgi mount, which I think this thing is hilarious. It's not the greatest reward considering how difficult this event is going to be for most people, that's for sure. But I personally actually really like this mount just because it's so stupid, you know? Like, I'll take any meme mounts in this game, dude. Like, I'll take them. So then there was one other thing that's going on with the event. That's the entirety of the event catalog, the objectives and everything like that. However, there is actually some special stuff going on that they mentioned in their blog post here, which they don't actually mention entirely in the game. They kind of hint towards what's going on here, but if you clear 3-star dungeons and above, so I guess a 3-star and a 5-star dungeon, you actually have a chance to get Mount Talismans at a higher drop chance. So not normal dungeons, just 3-star and 5 stars. But you can also end up getting the super mount stashes as a drop as well. So that's really cool, because again, that's just giving you the chances of getting more starting mounts and stuff like that. And I can show you right here, like the drop rates are actually pretty good. Like, they're not 100% increased or anything like that, but they're definitely a lot better. I know for a fact that I got like maybe 1 or 2 talismans within the time frame of me grinding this event. But that said, I wasn't, you know, I was just doing normal dungeons thinking, am I getting better chances? I didn't know it was exclusive to 3 stars and 5 stars. So I guess that's why people are just effectively farming that. So again, the most efficient way that you could be grinding this event is just by grinding shadow towers over and over. But again, that ends up getting extremely boring. So for any of us that are already kind of close to the end game and don't need the extra mastery, you know, I'd say just play the game, get the event done with, and then just go do your own thing. But then for those of you that are kind of at the beginning of the game and stuff like that, I'd recommend, yes, you most definitely want to grind this out as much as you can, because getting these mounts is way more difficult than it needs to be, because the devs unfortunately have a habit of not going back into the game's code and readjusting drop rates. And, you know, they're very stubborn for that for some reason. But the problem is that we're dealing with insanely rare drop rates for any of the talismans, considering that they've just added more and more and more and more and more items that end up needing the talismans in order to craft, right? So another thing too that I want to keep in mind is, if you can be at U8, if not U10, because the talismans themselves are not going to end up dropping from every difficulty. Like right here, it even says very rarely found in the cursed Skylands, specifically for the Griffin talismans. And then if I'm not mistaken, the panda ones, yeah, this is Uber 8 and higher. And then the rat ones is going to be Uber 8 and higher. I think the llamas are very rarely found in all adventure worlds. Okay, I thought there was one that was U9, but maybe I'm mistaken about that. Maybe that was the centaurs or something. Yeah, centaurs is U9. So I guess if you're trying to be the absolute most efficient, which would kind of suck, and you want to try and get the talismans, it's not going to end up being shadow towers. You're going to want to end up going to U9 Sky World and just focusing on 3-star dungeons. Ugh. Either way, I gotta get this video out to you guys and gals. Sorry that it's so late. You know, I've been busy. Most of all the chaos chest grind kind of caught me off guard. I honestly, for the first day of this event, I completely didn't even know that it existed. Yeah, so I started grinding this a little bit late, and that's why this video is so late. Either way, thanks for watching. Very much appreciate it. Don't forget to like, sub, hit that notification bell if you want to support me. There's all sorts of support links down below. You can buy some of the merch. Use that sign-in link that I mentioned at the beginning of the video if you're a new Trove player. But then if you don't have any money, but you still want to help me out, there is also a link down below to Gawkbox, and that is a way that you can end up donating to me for absolutely free by basically playing phone games and stuff like that. And then, of course, there's always the options of sponsoring my YouTube channel, which actually does give you quite a few other benefits of seeing some videos behind the scenes way ahead of everybody else before I end up actually editing them. Thanks for watching, though. Sayonara, and stay epic, everybody.